Welcome back to On Stage from Broadway's Marquee Theater. Greg Garcia and Mike O'Malley are known for their work on television with shows like My Name is Earl, Glee, and Raising Hope. Most recently, the two teamed up to write their first musical, Escape to Margaritaville. We met up with the self-proclaimed parrot heads at Reunion Surf Bar, where they went face-to-face.
It's very nice to meet you, Mike.
Greg, it's nice to meet you again.
Meet you. I've heard great things.
Thank you very much. You create Yes Dear. You do My Name is Earl. Then you have Raising Hope. You got all the networks pretty much covered. Why Broadway?
Well, because you called me one day and you said, do you want to write a Broadway musical? And I said, what are you talking about? People know you as an actor and writer from TV shows such as Glee and Yes Dear. But the millennials all want to know, what was it like hosting Guts?
Bert, spill your guts!
I loved it. And, you know, I really approach it almost like an role. Like, if I was playing a sports announcer, what would that be like? I loved it.
What's your favorite Jimmy Buffett song?
I would say Margaritaville. Not only because the first time I heard it, I thought that's a great song, but because the only reason we're sitting down in this bar right now is because of that song.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. You? 5 years ago, I would have said Brown Eyed Girl, but I found out that's not Jimmy Buffett. I'm kidding. I'm just joking.
No.
If that goes in, I could be in trouble. Would you consider yourself a parrot head? And what has been your coolest experience getting to work with Jimmy Buffett?
Well, I will say that I am most definitely a parrot head now. So the coolest thing for me, honestly, has been watching how much joy it's brought Jimmy. To know that he has entrusted us with writing this story and taking his life's work and turning it into a musical, it's been a real gas.
I myself, too, was a big fan of Jimmy Buffett. Growing up, I would go see him in concert. All my friends in Virginia are flipping out. I mean, I've had to buy so many tickets to this thing. I'm just trying to break even at the end of the day. It's been a thrill to make him happy. You know, I mean, I think that was our goal from the beginning. We want to make sure that Jimmy Buffett walked away from this thing happy. This is not our first time working together. What was your favorite project/show that we've worked on together?
I'd have to say this, just because I was just thinking, we're just laughing so much.
That is true. That is true. Because we've done a lot of things in like short bursts together. This is like a second marriage. Like, I'm going to have separation anxiety when this is over.
I'm going to be calling you and go, I got that joke. I finally got it. You know, one of the reasons when I called you that you were interested in writing Escape to Margaritaville was because your son is a theater major at Boston University. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so my oldest is a sophomore at Boston University, theater major. He comes to rehearsals, he comes down, he visits, he meets the cast, he hangs with the cast, and all of a sudden we have like this great thing to bond over. And that's been probably the best thing of this whole process for me.
All right, folks, thanks for watching. Me, Mike O'Malley, and my friend Greg Garcia. We wrote the book to Escape to Margaritaville. Please come join us at the Marquee Theater. You'll love it.
If you don't, Mike O'Malley will give you a full refund.
I don't think that's legal.
Tony-winning director Christopher Ashley is bringing Buffett to Broadway with Escape to Margaritaville. Ashley has been celebrated over the years for works like Come From Away in Memphis. I caught up with the director to chat about his career. Escape to Margaritaville and Xanadu are both versions of jukebox musicals. You also directed All Shook Up, the Elvis Presley jukebox musical.
There's something about taking a classic song that a lot of people in the audience will know and reinterpreting it and finding new meanings and new stories within it. I think that's really exciting. It's sort of the musical equivalent of taking a shot at Hamlet or, you know, a Shakespeare play or an Ibsen. What matters is what you do with it.
So what is it about Jimmy's music that lends itself to the art form that is musical theater?
He's really a storyteller. I mean, there's these wonderful, rich stories inside the songs. And if you're making a whole musical out of his songs, he gives you this huge range from celebratory party songs to these soulful ballads about loss and a life that didn't turn out like you had hoped.
What's it been like working on the Jimmy Buffett musical with Jimmy Buffett?
It is so fun to come to work every single day. He's been on tour, but he flies himself in. He's his own pilot, and he's here all the time, and he's the most infectious, positive person you can imagine.
Just across the way from the Marquis Theater, you have Come From Away, show that earned you a Tony Award for Best Direction of a Musical. How do you sell to the masses a musical that is based around the events of 9/11?
So I was in New York during 9/11 and had all of these unresolved feelings about that day and the attack. But I opened the script and started reading it and listening to the music and really discovered it's a 9/12 story. It's really about extraordinary generosity and kindness in this little town in Newfoundland in response to the attack. So it ended up kind of counteracting and healing some of the feelings I had about that day.
It's time to lose the day.
Your Broadway musical, Memphis, won the Tony in 2010 for Best Musical. Take me back to that time.
That was an extraordinary experience. That it was the first show I directed at La Jolla Playhouse after I took over as artistic director. It ended up in the theater where I saw my first Broadway show, the Schubert.
What was your first show?
Chorus Line.
Nice.
I went and sat in the same seat I had watched my first show from when I was 12. Telling that story about Huey Calhoun and his passion for this music and his love for this woman at such a period of racial strife was amazing to tell. As we were working on that, Obama was being elected, so it felt like a real moment of change in America.
What's the first thing that comes to mind when I say Rocky Horror?
The audience shouting out at the stage. And as time went on, the fan base kind of developed their own call and response with the play.
Does this show remind you of doing Rocky Horror?
It's been interesting in this show watching the theater-going audience and the parrot heads teach each other how to watch it, where the parrot heads bring in so much exuberance and sense of play, and the theater-going audience sits down to watch a story, and I feel like they both learn how to do the other person's journey during the course of an evening.
Is there a signature Christopher Ashley style of directing?
I hope not. What I aspire to do is to reinvent myself every time and really respond to the material and respond to the way that the world is changing. I love it when it feels like the story it's a great time to tell that story. And I feel like right now the world is so fractured and everyone's shouting at each other, telling a story about finding love right now, about reaching for joy wherever you can find it. Seems like a great time for that.
And that's a wrap for this week's show. Coming up next week, we'll head